Hello, all sentient beings, and welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we talk about all news, comics, and media related to the... On this episode, we review IDW Publishing's Transformers War's End number 4 in comics. The 2007 first live-action Transformers movie is so old, it's now getting a nostalgic re-release in theaters. And there's a bunch of Transformers conventions returning this summer. Today is Friday, June 3rd, 2022, and this is episode 288 of Transmissions Alt Mode. Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that knows that one war's beginning comes from some other war's end. I'm your host, Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hey, how's it going?
Apollo, aka Robo Apollo.
Hi, everyone. What's up?
And Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
Hello. Let's talk Transformers.
As always, we start the show by thanking our Donatreons, those lovely people who support us on Patreon and PayPal. We really appreciate all the help you give us to help keep this show going. And we got to welcome one of our newest Donatreons, Chris. Thank you for signing up this month. We really appreciate it. And we hope you are enjoying all the perks that come with being a Transmissions Donatreon. So if you're not already listening to Empire of Rust, get on the Empire of Rust bandwagon and take a listen and get all the bonus content that we provide on the Transmissions Patreon. Of course, if you are a Donatreon, you got access to Empire of Rust episode 77, the early uncut bonus episode that came out this week. But for all our regular Empire of Rust listeners, next week you will get the regular main episode of Empire of Rust, episode 77, the Spark Awakens Part 2. And that will be out on the free feed at transmissionspodcast.com/rust this Monday, June 6th. So look forward to that. All right, let's jump into some comics news. Just one item in comics news. This week, we've got the line art for the Alex Milne cover of the upcoming Transformers Fate of Cybertron. So this is the wrap-up issue of that will tie up all the ending stories to the current IDW Transformers continuity. So we've already seen the end of the main series that ended with issue 43. Then the miniseries War's End ended with issue 4, which we're reviewing this week. And but both series left some significant loose ends as to how the story was all going to wrap up. And that's what Fate of Cybertron is going to give us. And this cover is awesome by Alex Milne, and looks really cool. We've got Optimus and Megatron in the foreground, then you've got Devastator and Computron in the background, lots of other characters in there as well. All the supporting characters: Bumblebee, RC, Ironhide, Prowl. Lots of cool Starscream back there too. So it's just a cool image, and it's always cool to see the pencils and inks come together from Alex's art, see his process and everything. So it's neat. Daryl, do you know that Alex colored this one as well?
I believe he did.
Yeah, looks great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even the detail, like I just noticed the detail of like Optimus Prime, his little his crest on his forehead is all chipped, and some of the pieces are out of place, out of alignment, to show how it's little. Like he's fragmenting away, so that's a really cool detail there.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like in what is it, Infinity War? How they're all kind of turning to dust. Yeah. It's just kind of him and Megatron are kind of merging as they kind of fall to pieces in the middle there. Yeah, it's a fantastic cover, and I really like the Devastator at the top.
Yeah.
Just a hint of the Decepticon logo looming over him.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
And not a stamped insignia to be seen.
No. There's always so much to look at with his covers too. Like there's got to be a dozen characters on this in this one image.
Yep. All right. Well, let's get and that's all our comics news for this week. Just that we've got the details about the cover for the upcoming issue. But let's jump into our comic review. and we are reviewing Transformers War's End number 4. This is the final issue in the War's End miniseries, and this is tackling the threat of Exarchon. So this is written by Brian Ruckley, art by Jack Lawrence, inks by Matt Fruz, Rick Mack, and Maria Keene, colors by John Paul Bove, with color assists by Ed Peary and Ben Peary, letters by Jake M. Wood and Nathan Wittick, editor Riley Farmer, supervising editors David Marriott and Tom Waltz. Cover A is Exarchon as Deathsaurus, Conquering All by Jack Lawrence and with colors by Rebecca Nalty. Cover B has a Big Drill by Phil Murphy. And then the retailer incentive cover is The Decepticons Attacking Exarchon, a.k.a. Deathsaurus. And that's by Daniel Kana, with colors by David Garcia Cruz. So, Daryl, which cover are you picking here?
Well, if you listened to the trips to the store from earlier on in the week, I showed off the cover of this that I bought, and it was cover A. The Jack Lawrence cover, I really liked the way it was drawn, with the Exarchon as Deathsaurus standing over all of the destroyed and murdered bots, and I just thought that looked great. So, yeah, that's the one I went with.
All right, and Apollo, which cover do you like out of these three?
I agree with Daryl. I like cover A the best. I just think it's a good representation of the story, and I think it's just a really powerful cover with him, Exarchon as Deathsaurus, I guess, or like in his body, like, on this pile of bodies, so that's my choice.
All right, and Jeremy, which cover are you picking?
I think I'm also going with cover A. I think it's just so graphic and just kind of shows the power of Exarchon, or power of Deathsaurus, really. But yeah, I like that one.
Cool. I will also choose cover A. I just like that image, and it's very brutal with all the dead bots all around him, and he's even got his hands coated with energon there. A nice little detail there. Cool. Let's get into the story. Exarchon's triumph is at hand, but after Megatron destroyed Flatline back at Shockwave's lab, he is now left with only the body of Deathsaurus to inhabit, but not for long. Exarchon will now add Devastator as the next host for his threefold Spark. But Devastator is not one Spark, it is the combined form of the 6 Constructicons, and they won't let Devastator be consumed. Exarchon is shocked and angered by Devastator's resistance to his influence, but he'll just find some other host bodies to use. Meanwhile, the Constructicons, overcome by the effort to fight off Exarchon, dissemble and collapse into their 6 individual bots. Watching from the sidelines, Team Stream, Slipstream, Shadow Striker, Hyperdrive, and Flame War realize they might have picked the wrong side. As Exarchon/Deathsaurus eyes them for potential new hosts, they all transform and flee. All except Flame War, who was very distracted by the revelation that the Constructicons merge into a single being, and is very curious as to why any bots would do that to themselves. Unfortunately, she doesn't realize that Exarchon has chosen her as his next host candidate. But before he consumes her spark, Sound Blaster reminds Exarchon that they are still exposed out in the open and their enemies are closing in, especially now that they've lost their giant combiner. Exarchon agrees that he cannot afford to be distracted now, and it's time for them to go so he can absorb the All-Spark. Flame War has cheated death again, and she quickly transforms and rolls out, following the rest of her teammates. Elsewhere in the Sonic Canyons, Cyclonus watches the Autobots and Decepticons as they plan to unite forces to stop Exarchon. Cyclonus' ghost friends argue back and forth that they should charge in and attack rather than waste time planning. But Cyclonus ignores them as he sees Mindwipe arrive with a potential solution to their Exarchon problem. Mindwipe shows off what he's done for Megatron. He's modified a Titan Spark to turn it into a trap for Exarchon. If Exarchon tries to absorb this Titan Spark, it will become a containment cell that will not allow him to spread his threefold Spark essence anywhere else. Of course, this means sacrificing the potential life of the Titan Spark to stop Exarchon. Sixshot and the Decepticons are on board with this plan, but Pyra Magna hesitates. She doesn't like sacrificing an innocent life in this way. Cyclonus counters that Pyra Magna has made other life and death decisions already. Exarchon needs to be destroyed, and Cyclonus is willing to make this sacrifice, and he'll go with Mind Wipe into the Psionic Cannons to make sure the trap is sprung. Below in Exarchon's base, the giant drill is ready to drive to the heart of Cybertron. Exarchon sends part of his spark essence into the drill, a package meant to be delivered straight to the Allspark at the core of the planet. Thus, Exarchon will consume all of Cybertron. The drill enters into the ground and begins its journey to the center of Cybertron. As Exarchon watches the drill drive towards his destiny, Onslaught contacts him on comms and says the Autobots and Decepticons are attacking again. So Exarchon orders Sound Blaster to stay and make sure there is no interference with the drill, while Exarchon/Deathsaurus goes to fight off the enemy again. In the shadows, Point Blank, Sure Shot, Zadar, Landmine, and Giamodis watch with horror as Exarchon's plan comes to fruition. They formulate a plan to hopefully stop it. Landmine and Giamodis will guide Zadar to drill an intercept path and stop Exarchon's drill and destroy it before it gets to the core. But before they can start, they're surprised by Rumble and Frenzy, who attack. Sure Shot and Point Blank provide cover fire while Zadar transforms to his drill mode and digs into the ground. Landmine and Giamodis follow him. With the Autobots gone, Rumble and Frenzy alert Sound Blaster that they're going to try and stop the drill. So Sound Blaster takes the cassettes and jumps into the hole left by Zadar to follow them. Back on the surface, Onslaught prepares Exarchon's troops for the coming attack. The Constructicons are still unconscious and disoriented, so Devastator is out of the fight. But Exarchon has the power of Deathsaurus and the remaining Seeker clones to fight for him. They arrive just as the combined Autobot and Decepticon forces attack. The battle is epic, but ultimately a big distraction to keep Exarchon and his forces occupied. They clear a path for Mind Wipe, carrying the Titan Spark to get close to Exarchon. Mind Wipe uses his hypnotism powers to confuse Exarchon and enthrall him to make him want to absorb the Titan Spark. But before he can completely trap him, Vortex knocks Mind Wipe out of the air with a punch. The Titan Spark drops to the ground in front of Exarchon. Cyclonus sees this is the moment and tells Pyra Magna to use the Titan Spark on Exarchon while he's distracted. She hesitates, and Cyclonus takes matters into his own hands. He grabs the Titan Spark and thrusts it at Exarchon. Exarchon is still dazed and reaches out to consume the Titan Spark. As his energy flows into it, the threefold spark is trapped in the Titan Spark as it turns black with Exarchon's energy. Cyclonus tells Onslaught and the other Combaticons to stand down since there's no point dying for their leader who's lost. Six-Shot is satisfied that he can now take the imprisoned Exarchon back to Iacon with him and moves to pick it up, but Pyra Magna has a better idea. She uses her axe to smash the Titan Spark to pieces, ending the Exarchon threat once and for all, and denying another prize to Megatron and the Decepticons. But there's still the matter of the drill. Zadar and the other Autobots have managed to intercept and catch up to the drill, carrying the last of Exarchon's essence into the heart of Cybertron. They find the drill as it enters a massive underground cavern, but before they can destroy it, Sound Blaster, Frenzy, and Rumble catch up to them. They fight a pitched battle as Sound Blaster and his crew work to prevent the Autobots from stopping the drill. Ultimately, Zadar again transforms to drill mode and bores into the giant Exarchon drill, causing it to erupt in a massive explosion. This also causes the cavern that they are fighting in to collapse. The Autobots all make it out alive, but Landmine notices that Frenzy is trapped under some rubble. Landmine ignores his pleas for help, remembering that Frenzy was the one who murdered poor Brainstorm, causing all this mess in the first place. Back on the surface, with Exarchon done, the Autobot/Decepticon alliance is at an end. Six-Shot prepares to depart with his troops and the Constructicons, who will become a new Decepticon asset. Pyra Magna objects that their work isn't done since she wants to find all the bots who were trapped below, but Six-Shot tells her that's her problem. The new war is still to be fought, but he's willing to let that wait till later. But he's leaving now and asks Cyclonus to join him. Cyclonus responds that he's done with this new war and will sit and rest for a while to savor the final end of the last war. Back in Exarchon's base, the Autobots emerge from the drill hole alive. As they climb up, Landmine thinks he heard the sound like a warp or something. No one else heard it, but he's sure he heard something. If the Autobots had come up just a little earlier, they would have seen Skywarp teleporting away with an imploder superweapon he was delivering to Megatron. To be concluded in Transformers Fate of Cybertron, coming soon. But that is the end of the War's End series. Apollo, I know you told us you were a little behind in the comics, so I'm curious as your perspective for this issue, since you maybe didn't have all the context, not having read previous issues. Was this story very confusing, a little confusing, or easy to follow?
Well, there was a lot going on in the issue. It was a good mix of, exposition from the villain and action, and lots of different characters being featured. I was able to catch on pretty quickly, though, what happened. It's obvious that Deathsaurus isn't himself, that Exarchon has taken over his body. And I remembered, he was mentioned earlier on in the series, how he had that special spark where he could control like up to 3 bodies at once. So, seeing that he was trying to take over Devastator, when he wouldn't be able to, because it's actually 5 beings that make up that one being. So, it took me a little bit to get into it, but like, as I said, like I haven't read the comics in like 2 months, but, I caught on fairly quickly what was happening. And I liked, how, a lot of villains do this, so like reveal their evil master plan, and Exarchon as Deathsaurus doesn't fail to do that. He reveals his little plan, like, I'm going to take over Cybertron Spark, and I'm going to get to decide who's who will live and whatnot, or something like that. And it's just it was good, and seeing Jack Lawrence's art again is refreshing. I of course love Anna Malkova's art, but it's nice to see Jack back for this. And yeah, so those are my thoughts on it. The one thing I didn't catch from not reading the, I've been behind a few months. Well, there were 2 things. Was one, I didn't know that Frenzy was the one who had murdered Brainstorm, and I don't know when that was revealed. Like, it might have been revealed earlier and I just missed it. The other thing I didn't really catch was when Skywarp at the end was like, oh, I missed the action, and he, grabs that item to give to Megatron. I wasn't sure what that meant, until I heard your review on the comic. But I thought it was a good series, and it'll be serious, or the good issue. It'll be interesting to see how the series actually wraps up, though.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I think I also appreciate Jack Lawrence's art on this book. He actually did, I think he did all 4 issues of this miniseries, so he got to do all the art for this miniseries. And I thought this was a nice mix of action and exposition here. Although one thing I will complain about is that we brought in Devastator and thinking, this is the climax, we're going to have some good Devastator action. And Devastator gets taken out right at the beginning. He doesn't do anything for the whole book. So that was a little disappointing that we got the big Devastator here, but Devastator did not devastate. I thought it was interesting that both this series and the main series, they end, but they don't really conclude. So I'm curious, how everything gets wrapped up in this Fate of Cybertron one-shot book. But this is not really a complete conclusion here. The thread of Exarchon has ended, but you've still got all these loose ends left to wrap up. So I guess we'll see how that goes. Daryl, what did you think of this issue?
I really liked it, actually. So the action in this one shouldn't be a surprise that I was really into this. I too was hoping to see, some Devastator go nuts. At the conclusion of number 3, we kind of had a feeling that Devastator was going to get taken over. But Jeremy and I had a discussion on one of those shows that we were on just by ourselves, because you had, you'd left us.
Abandoned us.
Yeah. So we were theorizing that Devastator is not 1 spark, he's 6, right? Because of all the Constructicons. So that he wasn't going to be able to take over Devastator. So it's the I was happy to see that he wasn't, easily taken over or capable of being taken over, really. But I really liked the action. The art was great. There was one sequence of panels where Deathsaurus grabbed all the Seekers and flew up through this what is it here? I'm just looking for the panel. It flew up through like the doorway or maybe like an entrance. It's just a hole. There it goes. Flew up through a hole. And I can see that. I can see that panel cinematically. As all these Seekers, these Seeker clones, just soaring up from the ground, with Deathsaurus kind of, in tow, and then the next page has them meeting the oncoming, coalition forces. And then with the ground forces kind of flying underneath the wreckage that falls from the sky. I can see that in my brain as it works cinematically, and I think that is really drawn well. So I really like that sequence of panels. And so that battle was fantastic. I really liked reading through that. I thought that Deathsaurus or X-Archon kind of went out possibly a little easy, but I get it. Maybe had to go out easy regardless of or regarding the fact that this is the end of the line for the books. But I did like how all the other stories kind of were kind of brought together here. What was it here? I'm just kind of scrolling through the book here real quick. The idea that the second war, like the old war, the new war is about to get restarted again. I mean, they agreed to put it off until the X-Archon problem was dealt with. I assume that's going to get addressed in the next in the tie-up book, because Megatron is under the impression that Prime's going to give him the planet, and Prime has no intention to do that, right? It's interesting if that's going to get kind of pushed to the side, or if it's just going to get dealt with. I'm enjoying the Cyclonus aspect of this as well, where this X-Archon thing is done, and there appears to be no sign of his ghosts, although it's only dealt with in 2 panels here, so it might be they might still be around. But it looks like he's found peace at this point, and I'm happy if that's the resolution of Cyclonus's arc, and that would be just great. As Cyclonus as a character, I've kind of liked. He hasn't been used too much, but for what he's been used for, I think it's been well. And then the fact the tease or the lead in with Skywarp at the end, I think he's been a bit of a standout character for this series as well. Not the series, but I mean the storyline throughout all of the other Transformers book as well. He's been kind of like the Joker of this Transformers line, and he's been fun. I'd like to see. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with him. I know that he's just kind of crazy and nuts, and he's now got a Doomsday weapon. So you've got the Joker with a Doomsday weapon, heading to Megatron, I guess. So fun times are ahead. I was really hoping to see a combiner fight though. Like, we know that Computron is on the planet and Devastator was here. So I was really hoping for a combiner fight, but can't have everything, I guess.
All right. And Jeremy, what were your thoughts on this book?
I really enjoyed it as well. I think it was a great finale to this book. It was drawn really well, like everyone's been saying. It was just mostly action through it, and I I agree with what Daryl was saying about the lack of a Devastator fight. I'm happy that we were right in, the whole failure of X-Archon there. But yeah, it makes sense story-wise that they would be kind of wiped out from fighting off X-Archon like that. But I do miss having him just smash things. But there's always the Fate of Cybertron book. I thought that a lot of this book was really well written, well paced, like the whole series. It is interesting that everyone's thinking X-Archon is dead, but he has a part of his consciousness still in that drill. So the war hasn't really ended yet. So there's so many things to tie up. Like Fate of Cybertron has got a lot of work cut out for it. But this I thought was a good miniseries, and I really do like Cyclonus's take in here where he was just done with it all and grabbed that Titan Spark. But then when he was done, he's done with fighting. And I like his arc through the entire series. It took a long time to get here, but I liked what they did with his character through the entire run from the reboot. But yeah, I think this was just overall really enjoyable. I'm looking forward to seeing the wrap up just to kind of see how things end up. But I wish that the pacing on the first couple of years of this series was better, because having everything have to be a little rushed to get things to the end here, there are so many good ideas that, I wish we had more time to spend with. I mean, like the Devastator, I wish we could have spent more time with him, and, just seeing more of Cyclonus or more of Six Shot. I think there could have been a lot of really good stories in this continuity that we just didn't get to see. So, but all in all, this particular issue was great. Coloring was great. Art was great. Writing was great. So, yeah.
So that ends our review of Transformers War's End number 4. And we will move on to Transformers Media News.
All right. In media news this week, remember Loot Crate? Well, it still exists. And they've got a new loot wear section. And this month being, they are taking orders for their July loot wear, and it's a Transformers Beast Wars t-shirt. So if you want to get in on that, you can, sign up for loot wear. And, if you remember Loot Crate there, it's once you sign up for it, it's kind of hard to get out of it. So really think about that. But it's an Optimus Primal shirt, Optimus Primal and Cheetor, sorry. They're both on there in their retro, packaging art style. So you got to have your order placed by June 19th, for July, shipments. So yeah,
only $14.
There you go. But then it's worth more than $14 of your time to get out of it. So, but if that's something you want, then there you go. You can get that there. We've got an update from the video game world. Forged to Fight, Transformers Forged to Fight is still going, which is still amazing. But they are adding G1 Slipstream to the game, and that's cool. So they've G1ified Slipstream, and it is based on the Takara Tomy Legends LG-16 Slipstream, which was the figure that was retooled or recolored off of the Windblade figure back in the day. So this is a Slipstream that is being able to be played in Forged to Fight now. So there you go. If you're still playing Forged to Fight and you wanted a Slipstream, you can have it. If you're a fan of old G1 scripts, then you'd be interested to know that the G1 episode Sea Change, we all remember that one. It's where Sea Spray becomes a merman. That script is now available on the Sunbow Marvel Archive website, and you can follow the show notes to check it out. It has been uploaded there already. You can read it. It's a PDF, so you could even download it and print it off for yourself if you wanted to. And from the looks of it, They say here in the article that it runs 57 pages. It was 71 apparently. So there is about 6 or 7 minutes of deleted scenes there. So that's pretty cool. So if you wanted to read it and see what, if Sea Change happens to be one of your favorite G1 episodes, maybe you'll be able to find the deleted scenes in there. So there you go. That's kind of neat. I love it how here we are in 2022 and we're still finding out things coming from like 85. So cool. And this is something that I got, it came across my table here because of, Twitter. You ever heard of Twitter? I use it for social media. It's a small platform. And the Transformers 2007 live action movie is coming back to theaters because it's 15 years old. So it's the 15th anniversary of this movie, and it's coming back to theaters starting July 10th of this year. So if you wanted to see this movie in theaters, if you wanted to relive this experience or see it in theaters for the first time because you were perhaps too young at the time or weren't alive, because that's, a definite possibility, then you can definitely go and check it out. Apparently it's being shown in a bunch of different theater chains. These all appear to be US ones. So Fandango, Regal, AMC, and Phoenix theaters, they're all showing, information regarding it around July 10th. So
do you get these Fathom events in Canada?
No.
Oh, because I was just thinking there is the 10th is the last day of TFCon.
It certainly is.
That would have been fun.
So some of these, the last one did show up, like the last 86 movie, which was put on by Fathom Events. The 86 movie in the theaters did show up in one theater in my area. I'm not going to say that this is not happening, because there's a possibility, but there has definitely been no information I've heard about this happening in Canada yet. And seeing as this information is sparse at best right now for the July 10th showings, then we're going to have to wait a little bit longer before we get a little bit more concrete information on this.
Yeah. But I just think, we know what the movie is, but it would be fun to sit in the room of Transformer fans watching that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. But that's it. That's all the media news this week.
All right, and we will move on to convention news.
All right, we have a handful of things here in convention news. The first couple are from TF Nation, and we have an announcement that Jean-Paul Beauvais, who did the colors in the book we just reviewed, is going to be attending TF Nation 2022. He's done colors. I hope you heard the U there in color. He's done a number of things over the years, and happy that he's getting back in the convention scene after some health issues. But if you do show up, bring him a ham and ask him to sign it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he will appreciate that. The next thing TF Nation has announced, actually this announcement came from the Royal Mail of Queen Elizabeth. And this says that these have been personally approved by Her Majesty. There are going to be a special Transformers collection of UK stamps. And the designs are going to be revealed at TF Nation. So I think that is pretty dang cool.
Is the Queen going to be there to reveal them?
I doubt a 90-plus-year-old Queen would be anywhere near there. But what's also cool about these is Mr. James Roberts did the written features that are going to be accompanying the stamps. And he says he can't say any more right now. He said this on Twitter, Daryl.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but he said the stamps look fantastic, and the supplemental material might expand the canon here and there. So I'm looking forward to seeing these and trying to figure out how I can get my hands on them. I think this is really cool. I think we've had some Transformer-related stamps in the U.S., but, they've just been stamps. There has been no accompanying text. So this is cool.
I just wanted stamps. I didn't want a book.
All right. So back over in North America, and Apollo, you reminded me of this when we were talking before the show. Sidefest 2022 has the registration up. Sidefest is July 23rd from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. in Kent, Washington. And you can now register as a dealer or an attendee. And it does say that registration will be open through July 9th. And then after that, anyone that wishes to attend will have to come as general admission. So check out the link in our show notes. And if you're in the Pacific Northwest, go check out Sidefest. And then TFCon Toronto has announced that their charity auction for Make-A-Wish Canada is returning. And this will be held on Friday, July 8th at TFCon Toronto. And it says admission will be free for anyone that would like to attend. So even if you don't have a ticket for TFCon and you want to attend the charity auction, looks like you'd be able to. Mm-hmm. It's always a fun time. You can get some great deals on things. You can get some really rare things. You can get something that you might have, talked to someone about and then decided not to get it and then buy it, and it ended up being from the same person. I saw a conversation about that with some of our people in Discord this last week. So
we watch watch one of our listeners, Third Sergio, get into a bidding war with somebody over a one-of-a-kind custom. That was amazing to watch stuff like that.
Yeah, so even if you're not going to buy anything, it's awesome just to watch what's going on with the auction.
Some of the greatest times I've ever had at TFCon are at the charity auction. Yeah. Some amazing things go on there, and all the money is for charity, which is insane. Yeah. So yeah.
Make-A-Wish is a great organization. So, I encourage you, if you have something you'd like to donate, they're asking that you email them, and they have a mailing address in both the U.S. and Canada that can receive items. So, if you have something to donate and you can't make it to the convention, get in contact with them. And that is all we got for convention news this week.
All right. That will do it for convention news, and we will finish up the show with feedback. Okay, we've got one piece of feedback this week, but it's special because it's from the author of one of the comics that we reviewed. So this email comes from Nick Marino. Nick says, "Hi guys, I just finished listening to your review of the Beast Wars Annual in Alt Mode 284, and I want to say thanks for sharing your thoughts on the Morphlings. As a huge Beast Machines fan, that was the first place my mind went when I was invited to pitch for the annual. I really didn't expect my Beast Machines campfire story to get the thumbs up from Hasbro, but it did. And I was so pumped to be able to bring a little taste of that lore to the IDW Transformers comics. Although I grew up in the 80s with G1, Beast Machines was the first Transformers series that really hooked me. In a perfect world, I'd love to do an ongoing comic set in the Beast Machines timeline. Alas, I only had 10 pages, but that's better than 0 pages. Thanks again for taking the time to discuss our story. I really appreciate it." Well, Nick, thank you for listening. Although I guess that's an episode I was not on for that review, but I think the guys did a good job reviewing the episode. I did read the comic, and yeah, it was nice to see get a little bit of Beast Machines lore snuck in there.
Beast Machines is a series that gets a bad rap, and it's if you go back and look at it, the story is a great story. I mean, it has its issues, but it was good. And I was happy to see this kind of scary campfire take on the Beast Machine story. It was a fun short in that book.
When this message came in, I remember emailing Jeremy saying, please let me not have shit all over his story too badly.
Yeah, Beast Machines was not my favorite series. I was a bit of a Beast Machines hater back in the day. I have since reformed my hateration ways, and I do appreciate it as for the series, and it was a good continuation of the Beast Wars storyline. There were some things I was not happy about. I was never a fan of the techno-organic evolution of the Beast Wars characters, but I think on taken on its own, it was a good story, and the animation was really good for the time. continuing with mainframe animation. So I think they did a great job of rendering the Beast Machines characters, I should say. But I'm glad Nick got to inject his Beast Machines love into the Beast Wars annual. So cool. And that will do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. As always, we end the show by giving a shout out to our Masterpiece Donatrons. These are the folks who continue to support our podcast at the highest level, which is why we give them a shout out in every episode. So thank you again to John Forex Levengood and Demon Tech 82. Apollo, thanks again for joining us this week. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you online?
Yeah, you're welcome. I always have fun being on here talking Transformers. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RoboApollo. And I'm also on the Transmissions Discord, which is a really fun community of Transformers fans. And I'll be commenting on posts and making posts as well. There's also an informal Wednesday night hangout session. It's at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's just, group of people get together and talk Transformers and whatnot. I tried to join that, but I'm not always able to join, but figured I'd give it a shout out. So maybe I'll talk with you sometime on that hangout session as well.
Awesome. And yeah, if you want to get access to the Transmissions Discord, just go to transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. Okay, and that will do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Transmissions. If you'd like to join the conversation, travel to our Discord channel at transmissionspodcast.com/Discord. Want some cool transmission swag? Feast your eyes on our transmissions gear at transmissionspodcast.com/shop. If you'd like to support our podcast, go to transmissionspodcast.com/support or tell your friends about our show. We'll see you next time.